So first and foremost, a big thank you to the whole ASO network team and leadership, and a big thank you to all of you for making the time to be here. For me, one thing about life, corporate world, is more or less when people would have to be intentional about their future. They would have to put in the efforts, would have to put in the work to get to where they want to. So today, basically, we're looking at the 21st century employee, the ideal one. So it wouldn't be quite, I've tried all my best to not make it very complicated. It's going to be very simple. When we are done, we'll take some questions through the chats and we'll be able to answer all other questions. So my name is Evans, so Evans Dear, and today we want to take a brief journey through this. So if you look at the image there, it is more like you are climbing and you are moving to a certain stage in your life. I would have to mute everybody. Okay, can you all hear me? Good. I think I'm able to unmute and mute everybody from here. So I think I'm able to mute the feedback from the background and all that. So today, we want to quickly go straight into it. So there is the great employee myth. First, the myth with a whole great employee is the fact that people think that, hey, do I even have the capacity to become one of the best employees? Do I have the capacity to do well in a corporate world with a diverse group of people and everything? So normally, who actually is this great employee that everybody is actually looking up to? So let's pick an example. I see a name here, Andrews Anderson of Felicity Upon. So Andrews is going to be the example that we use. So Andrews works in this corporate world, let's say in an insurance company. He works in a bank and oil and gas, a dentist, optometrist. He works in a given corporate world. Now, he loves his job. So the great employee will show signs that he loves his job. He is someone who shows a lot of enthusiasm every day and loves doing great work. This person would exhibit great health and wellness habits, probably towards even his own health. He will take care of himself. This would be someone who would maximize the time and would ensure that all the times he is being productive. There's someone who's a constant learner. He's always trying to improve, get better. This is someone who is a star at the workplace. He's winning all the awards, the best employee award, employee of the month, best in sales, best in customer service. So there's a lot of all of these things. Now, most of you sit here now, and the question you ask yourself, okay, am I capable of actually becoming someone like this? Do I have the capacity to become such a great employee? The first answer is yes. Secondly, the perfect employee does not exist. All of us, we are people who have imperfection. So you need to understand, but we are all striving towards perfection. So the myth here is that for most of you listening, is that yes, you can become that great employee. It is possible. You can become that great person at that workplace. There is no corporate world that your qualification can take you there that you cannot work there. You can work in any part of the world. You can work in the United Nations. You can work with the World Trade Organization. You can work with the World Bank. You can work in so many places. Now, with all of these things being said, now that it's quite clear, I need all of you to look at having a bigger picture here. What do you want to be? Now, if you don't have this question answered, if you don't have it in your mind, it becomes quite difficult for you because you need to know ultimately what you want to do. So if you pick an example, currently, if you pick the CEO of Stanchart, for example, she started as an engineer, she's ended up as a banker. You pick Kamran Dumont, he started with medicine, he ended up as a journalist. So a lot of things can change. You can even start a program, you can start a course and end up somewhere with your passion. The first thing you need to understand here is that what do you want to be? So first and foremost, there are three categories there are a lot of them, but I just want to break them into three for you. So we have the normal person who is an intrapreneur. So most of you have heard of the word entrepreneur, but hardly people hear of the word intrapreneur. So an entrepreneur is someone, so opposite of it, an entrepreneur is actually someone who initiates and starts his own business and is like a startup, built it up into a full-fledged business. An entrepreneur is an employee of a company. So this person works in a company, but he has a decision-making power that can let him take what we call entrepreneurial activities. For example, the CEO of MTN Ghana can say, okay, we are developing a new product for MTN. Now, this new product you develop, I have approved it in my time as the MD, we should do this, it will bring us more sales. The company is not for that MD or CEO, but this person, by reasoning of his position, is able to take entrepreneurial activities on behalf of the company. So if your aim here is to become CEO, a managing director, a chief information officer, chief financial officer, chief marketing officer, chief security officer, chief operating officer, and all of these chief, what we call the suits, the six suits. If you want to become any of these C's, then eventually what you have to do is to have a clear, defined plan. What do I have to do? So, for example, if you want to become a CEO, then it means that you have to have a lot of managerial skills. You'd have to have a lot of leadership skills, irrespective of the academic, irrespective of the soft skills you have, irrespective of the hard skills you have. You need to have a plan towards leadership, towards leading a group, helping all of them. Now, you may also decide that, hey, I'm not people's guy. I personally think that I'm not the kind of person who wants to always be in front of people. So let Dr. Adabo and co lead it. Let them do the speaking, let them do all that. Who will be the support team? I want to be behind the scene, okay? I want to be the back office person. I want to be in the R&D, that's a research and development. I want to just stay in the labs. I want to stay at the engineering room. That's what I want to do. I want to be the support person. So you also decide that, hey, if this is what I'm going to do. So in that case, you may not necessarily have to work so much on your public speaking. You may not necessarily have to work so much on managing other people. Yours is just your skill. You focus on it and you do it. So, for example, if you pick some of these great scientists working at NASA, and they're not so much into managing people, they are mathematicians, they are scientists, they just focus on getting their work done. And then the politicians and the leaders, they handle all the decision making and stuff, and they focus on just the research and the scientific work. Maybe you want to be an entrepreneur, so you want to start as an employee somewhere. And I keep telling people, but when it comes to even entrepreneurship, it is even good that you start as an employee somewhere. You're able to gain the experience and then you're able to move on to start your own business. Because if you move straight from school and you start your own business, it is not bad. However, sometimes you may not have the shocks and then you may not see how systems are put in place. If you start as an employee in somebody's company before you move, maybe you do national service, work a year or two with someone or work in a corporate world, you're able to learn one or two things you wouldn't have known if you had jumped straight into entrepreneurship. So if these are the categories, as I'm talking to you now, you should be able to have in your mind, pictured in your mind, this is what I want to do. You need to have that big picture. So we have the low level, middle level, and the top level management. So the top level management is where I'm looking more into the intrapreneur people who are at the top level and they have the influence to take entrepreneurial activities. The support team are the people who want to be at the front. They want to be people who want to focus on just their research, their scientific thing, stay at the back, get the IT work, do the coding. They are not ready to be at the forefront, but they also get a lot of money. And then the entrepreneurs, those who want to be their own bosses, do all their own businesses and create a lot of value for other people. So you need to determine this right from here, and then you'll be able to take it from there. Now that we've come to this part, I'm moving straight forward to our topic today. So you can write it down. I want to give you a simple acronym, okay? In the 21st century, there is a skill I will term it our skills, AWE skills. So the A here stands for applied knowledge, the W stands for workplace skills, and then the E stands for effective relationship. Now, the applied knowledge is something because, there is a difference between knowledge acquired at school and there is the other problem, which is applied knowledge. From my experience, I've worked in France, I've worked in Morocco, I've worked in Ghana, and in these places I've worked, you get somebody who is a graduate, he's come from school, and you look at the person's CV. Person has a lot of things on it, and then you give the person a basic Excel work to do, and you tell the person, "Hey, can you mail merge this thing and then send it?" And the person, "What is mail merge?" He doesn't even know what a mail merge is. And the person doesn't know how to do mail merge from Word, doesn't know how to do simple interest calculation, how to compute, or how to be able to fill in cells and stuff. And the person can do simple, maybe you've given him an account to analyze, and the person can just do simple inputting. So the knowledge is there, but the first most important thing that I need all of you to know is a skill you need is applied knowledge. This knowledge is basically something that you are going to have it with you. So there are two parts of the applied knowledge where people kind of miss, but they only look at applied knowledge as applied academic thinking. That is not it alone. There is the part which is the critical and analytical thinking. So applied knowledge in what sense? I'm going to pick a general one which is common to all of you. So let's pick Microsoft Suite. So Microsoft Suite is Word, Excel, Access, and all those stuff, PowerPoint and stuff. So you have learned it at school. You know how to do report writing in Word. You know how to do some simple budgeting in Excel. You know how to do some presentation in PowerPoint, and you know how to do some data stuff in Access and stuff. So you have an idea about it. Now you come to the real world, and then you find yourself sitting at MTN or sitting at Vodafone, sitting at a bank, sitting at an oil and gas, and then you go and do a market survey. You come with hard paper, and then your boss tells you, "Hey, all this data that we've collected, I want you to collate them, put it into an Excel, and do a small summary and send it to me." And what your boss is actually asking you to do, which is very simple, here he's asking you to do what I call the applied academic thinking. So you've already learned the Excel, you can just put this data into Excel. Now he's asking you to be able to do the reports for him and summarize it and come up with recommendations. At that point, he moves from just you applying that knowledge to now critical thinking. And in the 21st century, if you're going to be an employee in an institution, and you can't be somebody who thinks outside the box, you can't be someone who applies knowledge, you can't be someone that until everything is fixed and cooked for you, you'll not be able to perform. It will be very difficult for people to employ you. So now, I'm speaking to you in three stages. Let me chip in this. So I'm speaking to you first as if you are people who are now looking for jobs. So I mean, all of you listening, as if you don't have a job yet, or even if you have a job, you are looking for your ideal job. So you're at school, you're a graduate, you're looking for your ideal job. And I'm speaking to you, whether you are there or not, to imagine yourself that you're also at the workplace. And I'm speaking to you as if you are the one who is the employer, or you are in a position to employ someone. The same way you want to be employed, you have to put yourself in the position of the employer or the position of the HR people who are employing you. Would you employ your own self? That's the retrospective question, the reverse question I want you to do. I want a job, but the question that you should be asking yourself, If I have the power to employ myself, would I employ myself? So first and foremost, the skill that you need is applied academic thinking. So applied academic thinking here, we are talking about the hard skills, hard skills. So the hard skills here has to do with everything that has to do with the skills, the expertise you've acquired. So if you're a programmer, you are somebody who does coding, you are somebody who is into website development for the IT guys, you are an accountant, you know how to do bookkeeping, you know how to do budgeting, you are a medical health expert, you know how to do administer drugs. You've been trained in your field, you know what to do. Those are your hard skills, you've acquired them. At the workplace, we are not so interested so much in only your hard skills, but we are interested in how you apply the skills. So if you ask someone like Dr. Adabo, the reason why in medicine and other places, they keep getting to these they call them experts and consultants. You see all of them trying to specialize because every now and then there'll be a case that will come that the ordinary medical doctor or medical officer would not be able to solve it. And then the expert with more skills will be able to do it. Now, what I'm trying to let you know here is that you need to be a problem solver at the workplace. For most of you, most of you that actually listen here, most of you should be able to apply every single knowledge. And I'm using example of, I wish we were in the classroom and I could ask what you are doing, it would have been practical. Unfortunately, I can't hear you, but so the critical thinking part of it is where you become analytical. Analytical in what sense? You apply certain basic principles to arriving at a solution. For example, if you are to use like the SMART objectives, I want to use simple terminologies today. So because I don't know the group of people I'm talking to now. So if you pick, for example, SMART objectives, SMART means that every objective that you are doing at the workplace, it should be specific, it should be measurable, it should be attainable, it should be realistic, it should be time bound. Now, if you go by the book knowledge, that is specifically what SMART stands for. But in reality, can you really do a SMART objective for your company and say that, hey, for the year 2021, we want to do a SMART objective? Can you practically do it? This is the reason why in business schools of late, most of the business schools are coming up with what are called case studies. Because they realize that people have the theories, students have the theories, they don't have the practical side of it. So the second part of the hard skills is what we call the soft skills. And these soft skills are very, very important. You need to be analytical, you need to have critical thinking, you need to be somebody who can think on the spot. You have to be spontaneous. So spontaneity is very, very important in the workplace. You are the branch manager of a bank, all of a sudden, your lights are out. Your gen set fuel is finished. Your system have paused. Customers are screaming on you. Your staff don't know what to do. What do you do? Now, these are some of what we call the simulations that we do at interviews. So when you come to interviews, so let me give you an example of one interview that I witnessed in Dubai, in the Emirates. An amazing interview. The Emirates organized that interview. When they came for the interview, I was shocked. They didn't have a panel to interview them. There was no panel. They put all the applicants in one room and they gave them a real life situation where all the people who were on board of the flight, and all these people were complaining and they were screaming and they were just making noise. So they brought in about 5 people, real life situation, solved it. Now, what they quickly looked out for were qualities that I want to share with you. And that one is the workplace skills. So first and foremost, they want to see how you're able to use the resources available to you. So customers are complaining, things are not working. Can you out of your own ingenuity, come up with a solution, be able to help the customer. So resource management at the workplace is very important. Resource management is in two folds. When I talk about two folds, it is in optimization of resource management. In other words, we are going to look at what we call this. I didn't want to use big terminologies, but permit me for you to understand me. There's something we call synergy of production, and there's something called synergy of cost. So normally, synergy simply means that if I have 1 plus 1, instead of it being equal to 2, 1 plus 1 will give me 3. If I have 1 plus 1, instead of it giving me 2, 1 plus 1 will give me 1. So when 1 plus 1 gives me 3, that becomes synergy of production. And if 1 plus 1 gives me 1, that becomes synergy of cost. And I'm giving you an example. If we are at a workplace and for some reason we don't have a company car, is broken down, and we are all heading to maybe from Medum to maybe I'm using Kumasi, from Medum to maybe KNUST. Instead of both of us picking one taxi and paying 20 cedis to KNUST, maybe I'm going to Aga Junction. I pick my car, I drop into Aga Junction, you pick another car to KNUST. Meanwhile, we're on the same road. And then we end up paying 15 and 20 and pay 35. Meanwhile, both of us could have picked one taxi, one would drop at Aga Junction, and I would alight at KNUST and would have paid 20 cedis. So with a synergy of cost, it means that the two of us decided to pick one car. And for that reason, we saved the company instead of 35 cedis. We saved the company and the 15 cedis and we paid only 20. The synergy of production in this context simply means that if I alone, I want to do something, I would have achieved maybe 100. But because I did it with you, we are able to achieve more. And that is where teamwork also comes in. So somebody's in my ears. Sorry, just a second. I'm muting everybody again. Okay, I've muted the person. Good job. So we have the information use. Information use at the workplace comes in three folds. So the first part of the information use is about confidentiality of information. You should know which information is allowed to go outside, which information can be shared among staff, which information is at the top level. That part they want to know right from the beginning. So at the interview, somebody can ask you, we are not doing interview today, but I'm just chipping in for those of you who are looking for a job. So at the interview, somebody can ask you, oh, for some reason, we realized that, hey, we were making huge losses. And then because we were making losses, we were afraid that if we tell our customers we are making losses, I'm using a bank, for example, customers will begin to do what we call panic withdrawal. And if customers start panic withdrawing money from our bank, it means that we have a lot of problem with deposits, and eventually our bank can close down. Now they tell you this and they want to test you how you pass such an information. One, you are supposed to be a man of integrity, so you're not supposed to be lying. You can't, but there is this thing that you should know. In life, you are not supposed to lie, but you're also not obliged to tell people what they don't need to know. In other words, before the annual or before the publication of the P&L, which is a profit and loss of the company, is official and is being published, even if you have that insider information, you don't tell the customer, especially if the knowledge of the customer would have a negative implication upon the business. So the first level of information use is on confidentiality. The second level of information use is on productivity. Some institutions, for example, most institutions, most of the work we do, they are what we call on-job training. So some of what we have the internet and we have the intranet. So the intranet is the internal website that we, the staff, are authorized to use. If you are not a staff, you don't have access to our intranet. On the intranet, there will be almost all the procedures that are there. You, as a very good staff, should be able to once in a while read and know the procedures and the policies of the institution where you work. So the second part is usage of information to be able to become more productive, more compliant to the rules and regulations of the place. The third component of this information is, because the first one we've talked about confidentiality. The second one is for productivity. Now, the third part of the information you use is your ability to share that information. For example, you have been able to identify that there is a good lead for your company, and then you keep that information to yourself. You know that if your company is able to know that, hey, there is a new company here, and then we can sign them up. You work maybe a telco, we can sign the company up and get a good, and then you don't inform. So this information one is the part where you become proactive, and then you're able to share information with your company. The workplace skills that you also need to have is communication skills. So the example that I gave with the Emirates one, the Dubai one, that they put them in a simulation room, most of them were just focused on individually trying to solve the problem. So they marked them on individual communication towards the customers. They marked them on individual communication towards their fellow staff. So your communication skills, you need to learn what we call business English, corporate world English. There are things that you don't say at the workplace. For example, I can give you examples of things that you don't say. For example, you go to your boss, you greet him and say, "Hey, boss." And then you just go and then you just say hey to him, and then you just move on. That is not acceptable. You go to a lady at the office and you tell her, "Hey, I like the way you are dressed. You look sexy." It is not acceptable to go to your workplace and tell your colleague she looks sexy. She could be a married woman or something. It's not allowed. Now, systems thinking is a workplace thing that you need to know. When we talk about systems thinking, is the integral part of a workplace. You need to understand your role as part of a system that has been put in place. So you need to know that you alone do not make the work. You depend on other people to make your work done. So for example, allow me to use bank or telco so that will be easy, so that I don't use multiple examples. So if you pick the bank, for example, the teller is as important as the security personnel. And the security personnel is as important as the relationship officer. Without the other, the place wouldn't work. So you need to have a systems thinking where you don't overemphasize your role and rub it in the faces of people. You need to learn to appreciate what your other colleagues do. So you can just say a simple thank you at the workplace to your security person. "Oh, thank you." Once in a while, your security person will buy lunch. You send him to buy lunch for you. You can send him on an errand or whatever. Once in a while, it shouldn't be a regular thing. Or you come and everything, you've never had any scandal at the place, nothing has been stolen. You can say, "Oh, since I came to this branch, I've seen that nothing has happened. Mr. Mensah, thank you for the good job you are doing." The teller and all that. So that's, and then technology use. One very funny thing, which is not good, is for you to start job and people would begin to call you that you are molded, you don't know how to use, and every day you really need to learn your basic IT skills. For that one, every one of you here who intends to become, you really have to. So for effective relationship, that is the last one, is about personal qualities and interpersonal skills. So when we talk about personal qualities here, at the workplace, you need to learn certain mannerisms and courtesy that has to be done at the workplace. First and foremost, you can write this down, those of you who are writing. The workplace is not a place where you go to play. It is not a place where you go to find friends. You find friends, but it's not a place where you go there to find friends. As your main objective there is not friends. Your main objective at the workplace is to be able to contribute to the bigger vision of the company and to become a valuable asset to the company. So what you have to do with your personal qualities is that you have to learn to be very professional. And professionalism starts all the way from first your appearance. So when we talk about professionalism, your appearance. If you're a gentleman, how you shave your hair. You're a woman, the kind of hair you put on, your lipsticks and all that. At the workplace, you shouldn't be loud. Loud, I'm talking about appearance. So in other words, a lady, you don't put on very, very bright colors. Don't put on pink and red hair for your nails are too long and all that. It is not too good for customers. You shouldn't be in dresses that are extremely too tight and would give people the opportunity to sexualize or put you in that context is not good. So your personal qualities is that you need to understand that you are your own brand and you have to present yourself in a good way. So number one here is the appearance. So you need to be very professional. How you dress. So for men, you need to be properly dressed in your tie, in your shirt, in your suit. If it's an African wear, you are in a very decent African wear, not some uh, funky, extremely fashionable dress. You shouldn't be loud at the workplace. You should look decent, clean, and then you appear that way. So that's on appearance on your personal level. Your communication, I always tell people don't know you until you speak. So there is this thing that happens to people that they look at someone from afar, the man looks so good. The moment the person begins to speak, they say, the guy can't even speak so well. You need to learn how to communicate. You need to learn how to speak to people. You don't have to be a specialist, but you don't have to be someone that is also not able to communicate your thoughts properly to people. You need to put your thoughts together and present it to people. And you need to be able to defend your point. Because at the workplace, sometimes you suggest an idea and your bosses would want you to be able to defend why you think this idea should be implemented. And you should have that quality. Now, confidence is very important. Integrity, honesty, and all these things are also there. So interpersonal skills are important because at the workplace, you don't work alone, you work with other departments. What we shared before this, the system thinking. So you need to learn how to relate with other people. And I always say the best way to relate to people is not to get too familiar with people. Familiarity breeds contempt. Whether you are the junior or you are the senior, whether you are the boss or you are the subordinate, don't get extremely familiar with people. This doesn't mean you shouldn't be nice to your staff. I personally have been in a position where I have at least 10 people working under me throughout. And all along, I'm very close with almost all my staff, but I remain extremely professional with my staff. When my stuff is wrong and I have to frown at it, I'll frown at it and I'll show the person what you did, I do. If I have to actually query the person, I'll query the person, give an official letter or an email and warn the person, you are late, I'm not accepting this, you do this, I don't like it. And when the person does well too, I ensure that the way we punish wrongs, we should also reward rights and performance. So these are the skills that let me mute everybody again. Sorry. So these are the skills that you should have. Basically, the AWE. So applied knowledge, then your workplace skills that you need to have, and then your effective relationship that you have with other people. So the wish list, I'm using a wish list because this is something that if I am putting myself as a boss for those all of you I'm talking to, I'm putting myself here as an employer or an HR personnel or a top management employee. If I want to have a very good employee at my place, these are some of the things I wish for. Your perception of customer value should be important. Whenever you go for an interview or whenever you have the chance to work at a place, your boss or whoever you work under should understand from day one that you understand that the customer is the reason why you are working there. It should be one of the things that should never be said of you that a customer goes to your boss to make a complaint or put up a charge against you. It shouldn't happen to you. It can happen once in a while, something beyond you. Sometimes you can have very stubborn customers. You can have people who are just they just don't understand anything. They are difficult customers. It happens. That is a different case. But I'm talking about normal one. Under no circumstance should you disrespect a customer Under no circumstance should you allow a customer to get on your nerves and get angry and act overboard. So your perception of customer value is very important if you're going to be a great employee. That perception is going to change literally everything. So you need to show from the interview room that the customer is the most important thing. So one thing that you need to understand, and I'm telling all of you, if you go to an interview and you let the panel know that, for me, the reason I have dressed all the way from my home and I've come here is the customer. And the satisfaction of the customer is my most important thing. And whatever we have to do legally, righteously to ensure the customer is satisfied, that is going to be my responsibility. If you start putting such ideologies ahead of you at interviews and you start putting it, almost every employer will be happy. You know, there's this thing that the CEO of Virgin said. He says that if you take good care of your employees will take good care of your customers. So as the employer, he's going to do everything to take good care of you. And his main reason he's employing you is also to take good care of his or her customers. So right from day one, each one of you, the moment we get to interview sessions, we talk about it. Let the person interviewing you, let the person you are working with, wherever you work with, know that the customer is key, that you are willing to go to every mile to satisfy the customer. It should be legally. It should be something that is legitimate. It should be righteously done according to your faith. Telephone skills are very important, how you talk on the phone. Let me give an example. Somebody calls you. You are using an official phone. He calls and say, hello. Then the customer is also on it. And you're waiting for the customer to talk. No. If you pick an official line from any official phone, when you pick up, once it's an official phone, that is not a personal phone. You know, some phones are given to you personal. That's not what I mean. You are picking the telephone, you are at the office. It is the moment you pick up, so let's still use the bank. Hello, this is Evans Duah from Societe Generale Bank. How can we help you? And maybe if you're in a branch, you mentioned, this is Evans Duah from Societe Generale Bank, KGT branch, or Kumasi branch, or Tema branch. Then how can we be of help? You first introduce yourself, the person, because sometimes people have picked the number from online. Sometimes the people have just picked the number from somewhere. They won't even, so the moment you say that, the person knows that this is an official line I'm dealing with, and it's good. Secondly, under no circumstances should you get so angry and bang the phone on a customer, unless it is a time waster. When I say a time waster, somebody calls you on the phone during working hours, and then the person calls on the phone, and then he starts, for example, since we are using telco, let's pick MTN. Or pick here, now more MTN for more correct. More MTN for my say. Then you take your time to explain to the person. You go back and say, okay, but your problem here, then what's the problem? The person tells you, my problem is my Wi-Fi is not working. Okay, please, where do you live? How can we help? You take all the information, you tell the person, and then the person goes on again ranting. And now you people say, okay, madam, please, we've taken notice of your complaint. We are going to do everything to solve it. We'll get back to you. Please, is there anything else you'd want to know? And it still keeps on going. You say the same thing, say, so would you permit me to be able to hang on the line and then be able to move on so that I'll be able to solve your problem for you? In that case, you politely ask the person and then you walk away from the phone. So that's a bit of example of telephone skills. Now, there is also personal and electronic mail skills. I've told you that you need to remain very professional with people at the workplace. So when you are sending mails professionally to people, you need to know that emails are the same as written letters. So the same way your boss can tell you, give you an official letter that, hey, your transfer from this department to that department has been approved. If he sends you a mail, the HR can act on it. In that same way, if somebody sends you a mail, which is like a query, it can be reported to the HR and you can be sanctioned. So email is something that you shouldn't make a mistake with. There are three things about emails I want you to know. There is what we call you are sending the email to who? That's the recipient. And then you, the sender. But there are two components of email people miss. We have the CC and the BCC. So the CC is when you copy someone. In other words, I'm sending an email from Prince to Catherine Akon. So Catherine Akon is sending an email to Prince. Then Prince wants Alfred to actually see the mail that he's sending to Prince, or he wants Alfred to be in the know. In that case, he copies Prince. That's a CC. So once I copy Prince, every mail replies, Prince will also see it. Or Alfred will actually see it. Now, there is one component called the BCC. That's a blind copy. If I blind copy someone, I've sent the mail from, Catherine has sent the mail to Prince, but has blind copied Alfred. So what is sad here is that Prince is not aware that Alfred is in copy of the mail because he's blind copied Alfred. So sometimes you think you are dealing with only your boss, but for your knowledge, the HR head has been told that you're a stubborn person, you don't know how to behave, and they've blind copied the HR people, or they've blind copied some big people, and they're in the mail and they are reading every single thing. So your email and your electronic skills should be very, very good. The same way you write letters, you relate to people physically, email should be very, very good. So basic thing you should do at the workplace, you can start your email, Dear Evelyn, Dear Daniel. If the person is your boss, you can start boss, Dear Sir, or boss, that way. If in Ghana here, people don't like bosses in Ghana here, unlike outside, they don't like you calling them by their first name. So you don't want to risk it, you can just say Dear Sir, or you can start with boss. Ghanaians, if you call them boss, they love it. So you can just start boss and then you go. Please, I would like you to know you're done. You just write warm regards or regards, and then that is all. And stay formal, stay official. You have public manners and courtesy, simple public manners, how you talk to people, how you greet people. You walk to the office, you don't greet your colleague people, you just walk in straight to your office, it's not done. In our kind of culture, when you walk in, you greet. When you greet, you check, you ask the person, how are you doing? I hope everything is fine. You end there, you go and do your work, enjoy your day. That is all. Command of the English language. Recently, there was this thing going on social media with the vetting of the minister for fisheries and stuff, and people arguing it's English language and all that. For me, if you for the politicians, there are other things they are looking at. But to the ordinary Ghanaian, where jobs are not easy to find, and that your ability to speak good English, comprehend good English, since you are using English as a main language for communication, it is a plus to you. If somebody else can trust you that though you don't speak English, but you are very good with coding and programming and can give you the job, hallelujah. But the normal job market we have here, you might be good with coding, you might be good with budgeting, you are a very good accountant, but you can't express yourself so well. Somebody also has the same skills like you and can express himself or herself well, to pick that person over you. If you're able to speak other languages, it becomes a big plus to you. I've been able to work in French-speaking countries because I speak French. I'm able to write French, and it becomes a big plus for you. If you're able to understand like I do, I'm able to do a bit of business Arabic. So you can do Wahid, Taleta. You tell people, Waanta, Waanti, how are you? And then you tell them you and all that. You're able to do this Arabic business Arabic communication with people. It becomes good. You're able to speak one or two French and say, merci beaucoup, je vous en prie. You just tell the person and it's good. If you have other language, you can understand Spanish, hablas español, blah, blah, you do that, it helps, okay? So just to quickly move and so that we can So there are some universal failures that I want to quickly wind up to bring it to you. So people get this thing with speech and vocabulary. For now, most of you should online, you can easily learn it. There are some jargons that are not good. You don't use it at the workplace. There are some things that you don't tell people to watch the kind of words that you use. Let me give an example. There's some few words. Sorry, let me do another meeting. Somebody's audio is in it. Okay, so I think I'm back. Okay, yes, so that is been muted. So speech and vocabulary is very important. And you need to understand what is culturally accepted and what is not culturally accepted. There are some few words that if you say them in Ghana here, if you pick up your thumb and then you press it down, you're insulting someone's mother. That is a different thing altogether in another place I know. In another place I know, the right thumb, if you bring it close to your chin and you bring it down, it means it's full. So the same thing that means a vulgar language in Ghana means it's full in another place. So you need to understand cultural diversity, especially if you intend working in spaces like these international organizations and multinational corporations. You need to understand different culture, and then you need to know which vocabularies you should use and which ones you should avoid. So hygiene and appearance, I think we mentioned this. One thing that is not good is a man or a woman who smells bad. It's not good. No matter how good you are at the workplace, if you have poor hygiene, your shirt is always dirty, your shoe is always having dust on it. It doesn't matter that you live in the worst part of town, you don't have any money. You shouldn't have any excuse. So I remember there was this one gentleman I worked with. He used to live in some dusty place. He comes to work very early. He tries to come. He comes earlier than actually before everybody. He'll come. He'll polish the shoe, everything before the day starts. Nobody gets to know. So what's even through the camera, CCTV camera, I saw what he was doing. So you shouldn't have any excuse not to look good. You shouldn't have any excuse not to be smelling good. Don't use excessive powerful perfumes that attracts, like I said earlier. You shouldn't be loud at the workplace. So if your perfume shouldn't be something that draws unnecessary attention. So wear perfumes that are mild, mild. Your comportment and your behavior is very important. How you dress is how people would also address you. And respect is earned, it's not demanded. So you need to know that positions and titles, positions are normally to so many people, I tell them those titles, it doesn't actually automatically earn you respect. You have to earn it. You shouldn't demand for it. You need to be punctual. Punctuality is very important. It doesn't speak for all of you. No matter your intentions, if you're always coming late and giving excuses, it doesn't speak for all of you. You need to be someone who looks ambitious. I remember one time a company was downsizing, and then they had to let those people one man who had worked for 20 years in the same place and he was doing nothing to upgrade himself, nothing, and they had to let him go. It wasn't so much only about loyalty, but the fact is that he had become redundant and a burden to the company. He was not improving upon his skills, the new technologies, he was not picking up with it and all that. You need to also know that leadership is not something that you have so much of a choice with if you ever intend having being in a managerial position. So people always think that leadership is just for some selected few. Unless your intention is to be, like I mentioned, a support team, yours is to be a technical person, you just stay at the background. And then the most important thing is people take things at the workplace so personal. Please, there are it's human beings you deal with. So you can find a boss who is jealous of you, who is envious of you, a boss who just hates you, whatever. Don't take things too personal at the workplace. They can take it personal, but you always have a mantra: stay professional at the workplace. So for the millennium workforce, the 21st century, these are the last parts of things I want you to know. You should have what we call hands-on capability. That's what I talked to you about. Hands-on capability means that some skills for which you are being employed for, you should be able to do it. You should have it. It should come at your fingertips. And some basic things, you should have them. So basic things like what? When we talk about some of the skills we need you to have, you can't in our parts of our world, the time is coming. If you are not, the illiterate people we'll have in our world will not be people who cannot just read and write. But the time is coming, the moment you're computer illiterate, you're also an illiterate. Because as of today, no matter how you can read and write, if you can't use a computer, it becomes very difficult to work in any place. Because almost all our systems are being networked and all of them are put under a database and they are being run. So you have to do simple inputting, simple accessing of softwares, simple usage of information technology and stuff. So you need to have all these basic hands-on capabilities, and it will be able to be to your benefit. Comfortable in team environments. Whether you are somebody who is they call a reserved person, you are somebody who's an introvert, and you're someone who doesn't like, you're not outgoing and all that. You need to still learn to work with other people. As long as you are not your own boss and working for your mom or dad, and you decide to work for a corporate world, you have no other option than to be able to work with other people. If you want to lead, then you should learn to follow. And if you want to also follow people, then you also should also learn to lead. So you should have the ability to follow and the ability to lead. You should have continuing education and lifelong learning. In other words, if you started a job, you had a degree, you should push for a master's. If you're a professional, maybe a surveyor, you go for a chartered surveying license. You're an accountant, you can go for ACCA, ICA, CFA, any professional course in your field that you need. And you should also be doing what we call the CPDs, continuous professional development programs, to enhance your abilities and to keep you sharp. Culturally diverse and gender neutral. Well, the reason I'm saying culturally diverse and gender neutral is not about the current trend one. What I mean is male, female thing. You shouldn't be someone at the workplace where you don't do well with female bosses or female whatever. No matter what your problems are, no matter what you have with females or you have with males, don't go and say baby anya, no baby anya, those kind of things. You don't bring it to your workplace. Personal career awareness. You need to be someone who knows a clear cut where he or she wants to be. And then you should communicate such ideas and thoughts to your bosses once in a while, so that whenever there is an opportunity, they know where they can push you in there too. So just to get to the last part, I told you I'll take it from three angles. So assuming that you are the employer, or assuming that you are already working. And the last part is, imagine you're now looking for a job. So I'm assuming that for most of you who want to look at the 21st century, ideal 21st century employee and what you need to have before you get the job, you need to know your career goals. You need to know your career goals. I'm trying to mute everybody. Sorry. Okay, so you need to know your career goals. Career goals are very, very important. So, for example, if you want to move into academia, and then you go and do, for example, after your degree, you don't do an MPhil, you end up doing an MBA, and your intention, it will not really help you. So once you know your career goals, you want to move into academia, then from degrees, better do an MPhil, move into a PhD. If you want to be more like a consultant kind of person, you can do an MBA or whatever, and then move into the consulting. If you want to go into industry, so you need to have a career goal. I want to do this, I want to do that, and then you can have it. So if you pick somebody like me, my main career objective is actually to be somebody more or less that will move into consultancy and be able to raise more people to start their own business. So I'm moving into entrepreneurship and innovation. But instead of just being a researcher only in entrepreneurship and innovation, I want to have the practical component of it. So I had to do a lot of years in consulting work, a lot of years, some years in banking, then move a bit into academia, move a bit into helping people to get things done. So you have to have this career goal. So I had to do other things in order to feed into the ultimate goal that I want to do. Plan ahead. What do I mean? You need to plan ahead in the sense that you know where you want to go, you know what is required to take you there, and then you start the plan towards it. Now, get resume and cover letter help. This thing will be handled by my other colleague on the CV, so I wouldn't go there that much. People always mix this thing up. You can never give your CV, your resume. Let me stick to resume and a cover letter for now. You can never give your resume to somebody without a cover letter. So that thing shouldn't even ever happen. A cover letter is not an application letter, and that is also a mistake people do. A cover letter is not an application letter. A cover letter is simply an introduction and a summary of your CV. So some few things that you want to add beyond the CV, you add it to it. So that is what you do with your cover letter. And I'm sure that will be handled in the other sessions. So use all job search resources. This is what people don't, so many people come to me, they are not getting jobs. I'll ask them a simple question. Are you on LinkedIn? I said, what is LinkedIn? And I said, okay. There is a very high tendency to find job right on LinkedIn. For example, on LinkedIn, the MD of about 5 banks are my friends on LinkedIn. Central Bank Deputy, Governor, whatever, they are all directly your friends. All these people are there, they're in your profile. Any job thing they post, you see it. Anything, if you are interested, you can easily apply for them. Secondly, a lot of recruiters, when you send your CV, they go straight to your LinkedIn. Because LinkedIn is more like your online profile at the disposal of recruiters. So all of you should have a LinkedIn. Now, let me also add this because I've been told some of you are still in school. There should be no reason why for the entire 4 years of your degree, you never had any extracurricular leadership activity. There should be no reason why for the 4 years you never had any internship during your vacation. There should be no reason why for that 4 whole years you did there, you never did any project work. These 3 things you should have, and it will set you apart from all the other graduates that are coming. So please ensure, do some leadership thing on campus, join a club, join like a zone, be part of something and be a leader in something, but don't add up too much and don't take too many leadership positions or things that take too much of your time. Have some leadership things that you do, and always make sure. For example, when I was studying, my first year summer, I did internship with Alfa Romeo cars and Ferrari cars. That's why I did my internship. My second year, I worked with a Dubai consulting firm for my internship. My third year, I worked with a bank for that one. My fourth year did this. So by the time you are done with your degree, by the time you are done, you've had at least 3 to 4 internships that you would have done. So if first year you think you don't have much, do start from your second year. And please ensure that you do a lot. And then try and do some project work. If your school doesn't do end of course project work, you can come up with something. Maybe you want to do some poor and needy something. Normally we classify these ones under voluntary works. And it is very important that people get to know that you do a bit of voluntary works too. So you need to have a LinkedIn account. You need to be able to be dynamic about it. And please, your LinkedIn account, for those who already have some, it is not like a tattoo where once you put the tattoo there, you can't change it. With a LinkedIn account, it's just like Facebook and all these social media. This one is very professional. You can always edit to adapt to the message you want to send out there, always. So please, sometimes you can be dynamic and edit it, especially if you applied for a certain job. You think they'll come and look at your LinkedIn, and maybe you need to put in, for example, there was this consultancy job I had to do for 3 months, and quickly I had to come and put in something in my profile so that when they come looking at it, which is not a lie, it is actually the truth. Just that the same consulting work I did, I needed to put it in this case as if uh, for the first one, it was more like an academia. It was a research based something. For the other one, it was more like a solution based something. It was a problem solving consultancy that I did. So I had to just change from it being research based to problem solving based. It was the same thing, but for two different people, I had to adapt it. So you can also do that. You have to customize your resume. People make this mistake. You can't have one single CV, one single resume you send to your people. It is wrong. By the way, for those of you, the difference between CV and resume is that CV covers almost everything needed. Resume is normally a one pager, maximum 2 pages. It should be a summary, preferably one page. In US, in Europe, it's just one page. You just have a one page summary of all that people should know, just like a LinkedIn thing, just a one page thing, and that should be it. You can't have the same resume or the same CV for every other thing. For example, if I'm applying, like I have as 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 somebody with a research background, and I'm applying for a lecturing job somewhere. If I'm applying for the lecturing job somewhere, they'll be interested in the lecturing I've done, the articles I've published or under review, whatever. That's what they'll be interested in. But if I'm applying for a job with KPMG, and Young, WTO, Afrexim Bank, and all those places, they're not interested in the articles and the lecturing you've done. They're interested in the real life problem solving things I've done. They're interested in the achievements I've done in corporate world, or have been able to be a part of a board and all those stuff. So you'd have to adapt every CV, every resume to the audience, to the recruiter. Research companies apply with confidence. That's a problem I have with people. They are doing mass applications, so they just send it anyhow. Take your time, and every one of them that you're applying, let them understand in your email or in uh, your statement of intent or statement of purpose that you are writing to them, that indeed you are applying for this and you're sure you get it. Schedule information and interviews is very important. People don't schedule it, where sometimes you have to meet people for them to have a one-on-one with you. For example, you know the MD of a certain bank. You can do an informational thing and tell them, "Oh, I've studied something about your bank. I want to come and see you." Now, if you go for interviews, we'll talk about it. We'll not do that here. Let's do a lot of research out about the institution you're going to go. Even try to find faults with them. And after you found all these faults with them, you go there not to to tarnish their image or go there to let them feel how bad they are. No, let them know you found this loophole here, this loophole, and you think if they do ABC, it will earn them more money. If they do ABC, it would cut down costs for them or whatever. And then they know you've done your homework. So one other thing you have to do is whatever job you are doing, even if you don't like it. I remember one gentleman came to me and he's looking for a job, he's not finding it. So he's currently teaching in some private school and he's not happy with it. I said, you know something? The private school where you are teaching, teach with all your heart. Do it so well. You know what God did? He was teaching at this private school. There was one of the area managers of a bank's son who was there. The son was not that good with arithmetic and maths, all those stuff. So this teacher, being very good with maths and accounts and stuff, was able to help the child. Now the father was so impressed that nobody was able to help the child improve that much. So later when he asked him, he said, "Oh, I have a friend who is also a teacher. He said he was able to help the child improve his maths and accounts and everything." So sometimes Unfortunately, okay, I can't hear. Please, wow. Okay. So please, you can do the questions in the type. Hello. Okay. So I would take, you can type the questions. I'm trying to see if there are any questions that have been put there. Okay, so I'm muting everybody again. So you can type your question. Okay, so there's a question from Richard Frimpong. Can you throw more light on the CC? Okay. So like I mentioned, in emails, there is what we call the sender and then the recipient. So that's what most people are used to. So they know more about the sender and then the recipient. So normally what happens is that people actually just my email, so that click on compose, then you put the email of the recipient there, and then somebody's voice, let me mute it here just a second. Please preferably mute yours. Okay, so for the normal mail, so let me see, let me open my email. Okay, let me try and see if I can show you an example here. Just a second. So I'm trying to open one, then I'll show you an example so that we can all have it. Okay. Just a second. Okay, so let me share my screen and then I'll be able to show you. Okay, so I'm showing you an example. So this is an example. So for example, I'm sending this to I'm sending this to Gmail. Okay. And then here, look at where the CC is. That's a carbon copy. That's what it stands for. So the CC here means that I'm sending the hello. Please, can you hear me? I think my screen went off. Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Okay. Okay. Thank you so much. I'm back. So let me try and share my screen again so that I'll quickly take you through the CC and the BC quickly. So you cannot see my screen now. I think I'm sharing. So for example, the CC here. So I tried to copy ABC at gmail.com. Now, when I copy ABC, the one I'm sending it to, that's the Duah person, will see that ABC is in copy. So that one, ABC will see it. The moment I blind copy, which is here, if you can see on your screen, this is a blind copy. And I copy this person. So DEF at gmail.com. So what actually happens is that with the mail to Duah will see ABC is in copy, but Duah would not see DEF is in copy. So DEF will also receive the mail, knowing the mail between Duah and myself, but Duah wouldn't know, this Duah person wouldn't know that DEF also has the same mail. So Duah thinks he's communicating with only me and maybe ABC, but doesn't know that def at Gmail is also in copy. So that's what I'm trying to say, that you have to remain very, very, very careful when you're dealing with emails, you have to also be very professional. You don't do grapevine communication on emails. You don't go and gossip there or other stuff. You never know who is actually watching. Okay, so that's a bit about the CC and the BCC. Okay, let me scroll up and then get the questions. You can put your question. Okay, CC, I've answered that one. Please, from Abugri, Steven, please, as a first year student, can I start doing my internship whenever I'm on vacation? Yes. So please, you should do internship. And let me be honest with you. You should have 3 groups of internships that if you can do. So if you can do your first year, wherever you do your internship, it doesn't matter. You can even go and do it with an uncle. But the only thing with the internship you are doing is, please, every internship you do it at a place where it can be recognized and where you'll be given a letter. There are so many places you do internship and they'll not even give you a letter or anything to really prove that indeed you did an internship. Some years to come, you have it on your CV that you did an internship at this place. They'll go to them and say, no, they don't even remember you. And it'll be as if you lied. However, you need to have that copy. So everywhere you do an internship, make sure you receive a letter of an acknowledgement. So for example, this program I'm doing with A Zone, for example, they've sent me an email. Later, I'll ask them to send me a letter after the program has been done. So that if I stand anywhere and I say, oh, I've even done training with about 50, 20, 100 people on A Zone, whatever, 200 people, I have a letter to prove it. So this one, I don't want to go into CV writing, but anything you put on your CV, if you don't have evidence, please don't put it there. So all the internships and programs you've attended, you don't have anything to prove it, please don't put it there. So if you are going to do internship from first year, please, you can't do it. There are only 3 places you should have in mind. 1, you have to do an interview at a place where they can get you a letter. You have to do an interview at a place which is in line with your career projection. You have to do an internship, at a place where you can actually learn. Because there are some places when you go to do internship, all you do is photocopy and buy food from you become an errand boy. That is not the kind of internship I'm talking about. So you need to do internship. So from first year, I started the internship from first year at school. So right from first year, I started doing my internship. So please, first year, yes, you can. And move on to the next question. Please, how do you prove that you have attended voluntary outreaches since it may not be enough to justify them on the resume? That is a very good one. So if you pick these voluntary works that we do, for example, there is an outreach program or there is something, what normally you can do is that the organizing body, okay, you can tell them that for the purposes of what you're doing, you would prefer that they acknowledge you with a letter that from this time to that time, you volunteered and you work with them. Because if it's a voluntary thing, it means you didn't take any money from them. So that's why I'm telling all of you on this platform. You can't put any voluntary thing on your CV if you don't have any evidence to prove it. Because nobody is interested in your Facebook pictures that show that you're in some place. So some of these voluntary works, if you are also part of the team, or the leadership of the team, then find ways and means of getting letters to yourself. You should get evidence that you actually went to do it. Is that okay? Please, how do you prove that you have attended? Okay, I've answered that. Okay, thank you. So I've answered all the questions so far. If you want to talk, there's a raise your hand there. If you raise your hand, I will mention your name, then you can talk. But if I've not mentioned your name, please don't talk. Or you can type in there that you want to talk and I'll call you, then you will talk. If you don't want to type.
All right, so Kuba Bongna, I think your hand is up and you can speak now. Doc, please.
Okay, Mr. Kuba.
Yes. If you can unmute him.
Hello, is he talking or we should move on?
I think you need to unmute him so that he can speak.
Oh, unmute him. Oh, okay, okay,
Right.
yeah, that's good. Please, I found you. Good. Let me unmute you.
Yes. So please go ahead and speak.
Yeah, so you can speak. Kuba, you've been. Hello.
All right. I think he's having a chance. There's a question for you.
Please, I was asking what.
Okay, Amin Mohammed, you want to talk?
Yes, please.
Yes, sir. Please come in.
Good evening, sir.
Good evening, sir.
Please, I would like to know if there is a customer who comes to you and he is very angry, and because of a colleague worker has done something to him or her. So how will you handle that customer who has come to you with that anger? Thank you.
Come again. I heard the customer with anger, but I didn't hear the colleague part.
Like, assuming you are at work and a customer comes to you
Yes.
with like a very anger bit because of your colleague worker has done or doesn't reply to him politely or has done something bad to him. So how will you handle that customer?
Okay. Okay. So that's good. Thank you. So normally, no. Okay. So you can unmute yourself. You can mute yourself. Okay. Okay. So all of you can mute it. Okay. So that's good. So Mr. I mean, the good thing here is this. If a customer comes to you angry, our objective as customer service people or customer oriented people or people with values for customers, our the main objective is to calm down the customer and to satisfy the customer. So this is how you go about it. Then I'll answer the second question because there are two components of your question. The other one is because of your colleague. When the customer comes, anybody who is angry is always trying to do two things. It's trying to prove somebody wrong. It's trying to prove or put a blame on someone. Or worse, the worst people, I don't want to go there, but the third one is they want to create a scene. Because they are hurt, they also want to hurt someone. Now let's assume the two. So the one that the person just wants to blame someone, or the person is just trying his or her best to prove someone wrong. In this case, all that you do is to not be on the defense side. So you tell the customer, hey, how are you? Please, we are sorry, madam, so sorry. We are so sorry. Please, that's not how we work here. We are very sorry. The main reason why we are here is to satisfy. Please, may I listen to you? What is your problem? Allow the person to rant. Don't interrupt the customer. Allow the customer to talk. Voice out everything. Said, oh, please, is that a problem? So what brought you here? I said this and that and that. So okay, please, madam, can you have a seat? Give me just 1 minute. I'll get this thing done. So what you do is that the main reason why the customer came, they get a salt. So I have a policy, for example. If the customer is so angry and making noise, I'll bring the customer to my, what do you call it? To my office. When I bring the customer to my office and then I listen to the customer. Then I want to know the exact reason why the customer was there. For example, the customer was there to make a withdrawal. For that very special occasion, I will go to the counter, withdraw the money, bring it to the customer at my office, satisfy the customer. So the main reason why the customer came has been resolved. The main reason the customer is satisfied. Then we come to the second part of the anger, which is maybe the way a colleague of mine spoke. All that I'll do is, please, I'm sorry for how my colleague behaved. My colleague is a very good person. Please kindly give me a minute. I want to understand what may. Then the customer narrates, oh, if that's the case, I'm sorry. But please, under no circumstance should you condemn your colleague also in front of a customer. Take the blame of the bank on yourself. Your colleague's error, until you hear your colleague's side, never condemn your colleague. It's never done. Until you are so sure that your colleague messed up, especially if it's a subordinate. For example, if my subordinate messes up, I will bring the subordinate and the customer to my office, and I'll make sure my subordinate apologize. My subordinate would apologize to the customer. That one is how it's done. But for your colleague, somebody at the same level with you, don't condemn the person. Take the blame on the institution. Then, however, if now you've calmed down the customer, let the customer sit down. Walk to your colleague quickly, understand what happened. If you think your colleague was wrong, plead with your colleague to come there to apologize to the customer so that the customer will just go. Is that okay, Mr. Amin?
Yes, I'm fine with that.
Okay, thank you. And I think there are more questions now. What do you do if you find your boss engaging in unethical behavior, such as embezzling of funds, since you wouldn't want to be fired? First and foremost, there is something in law called aiding and abetting. There is something we call being an accomplice. So now, if for some reason you are working with someone, you are working with that person, the person is embezzling funds, stealing funds, and everything. What you have to do, there are two things. You can walk away from it, from the job, or you don't have to lose your job because somebody's negligence. You have to look at your system so well. If your system has what we call a confidential whistleblowing, in my bank, we have something called confidential whistleblowing. The moment you do a confidential whistleblowing, the HR would know the information you want to pass, but nobody will know who passed that information. And they'll investigate to know what you have said is true or not, and the person will be sanctioned. So in multinational corporations and in bigger corporations, whistleblowing is the act of whistleblowing is the fact that you've seen somebody doing something unethical, but you want to alert management about it so that the person doesn't tarnish it. It is something you have to do. You have to report to the person. But you have to be very tactical and professional with it, because if you don't report it properly and it backfires, but you cannot watch. If I am at a place with somebody's embezzling funds, you can't watch. The major problem we have is with public sector, those people who end up working in Lands Commission, Minerals Commission, Passport Office, DVLA, those places where there is a lot of what they call facilitation fees, unofficial fees they take and stuff. Those components are difficult. They are very difficult. Where the major problem is when people are stealing from the company. This one, they are taking from they are stealing from the company. That is where it's serious. Where they are taking from the customers and it's a public sector, until you are in a position of power to change it, there is not much you can do. For example, these public offices where people will charge people, maybe registrar general, somebody wants you to pay 50 cedis or 100 cedis before they expedite something for you. Unfortunately, you can't do much. So what you would do is that on your side for customers, you make sure that you don't charge people, you don't do that. And then eventually customers themselves will thank you and reward you for it. But if you're not in a position to change it, there's not much you can do for public sector. But for private sector, multinational, international corporations, and big firms, you have to do what I call whistleblowing. Abugu Steven, I'll be grateful if I can get your number. Yes and no. Yes and no. So I would discuss with Dr. Dabo on that. The reason is I like to do one-on-one mentoring. So it's either I have time to mentor you, I don't have time to mentor you. So I can meet you to have a one-day chat with you. That is possible. But for full mentorship, I have to look at my time to see if I can put you under my mentees. So for phone number, I'll discuss with the organizers and please I'll get back to you on that. The reason I'm saying this is that I like quality time. If I'm going to help you, I want to give you my best of my time. I don't like to do things half-half. So my email, I can give you my email. My phone number, we'll look at it. I'll discuss with the organizers. Please, there's a myth about ladies having to give to sexual harassment before getting a job. That's my great fear. Please, what's your thoughts on that? To be honest, it is not a myth, it is a reality. It is a reality in the sense that some unscrupulous guys, unfortunately, are at the top of and at the helms of affairs in certain places, especially public sector. And some of these guys, unfortunately, would want to ask to sleep with you before they give you the job. From what I sit and the experiences I've had, if I tell you it's not true or it's not a myth, it's a reality, it happens. What do you have to do, and what has even worsened these whole situations? That is the same thing like what happens on some of these campuses, where some of these ladies sleep with some lecturers, and like what the BBC people did recently for something for Marx or something. They did this documentary. There are some ladies too who would want to, how do I call it, do everything to seduce some of these big guys and sleep with them, and they got the job. So they destroyed those people. So the only thing I'm going to tell you is that every single lady on this platform, you should be a woman of principle. If for the fact that I'm not going to sleep with you, I'm not going to get a job, please never, never, ever lose your value for a job, because it means that the job you've gotten is never on merit. And the job you've gotten, whoever slept with you would not respect you. And I'm being honest with you. The ladies who were not bad girls, who slept with people to get jobs, whenever they get the job, they are never respected, because whoever slept with you will be seeking to get more sex with you. And that's the worst thing. And those ladies who are the bad girls, who even force big guys to sleep with them, when they come in, they don't respect anybody. So that part of sex for job, please do your best as much as possible. No matter how you are tempted, please never do that. For your own soul, for your own life, for your own dignity, don't do that. And you never know who has, and even don't. So what I would advise you is this. Build yourself so well that these jobs you go is purely on merit. And let me be honest with you. All of you listening to me here can all get jobs. I keep telling people say, Ejumeni Ghana. Yes, there are no jobs here. And they'll tell you, if you don't know any big man, you not get a job. It's also true. If you don't belong to a political party, you not get a job. It's also true. But there is also the fact that there are jobs that are being advertised every day. There are places that people are being enrolled. Yesterday, I remember a friend getting a job at Samsung, Ericsson. Some people get, and these jobs you hardly even see them at certain places. I have this guy who thinks that he should even start doing recruitment for people, because he finds all the jobs and then he starts giving to people to apply. So there are jobs. You need to, time didn't permit me to go through how you should use the internet to search for jobs and how you can search for jobs and stuff. But even on LinkedIn alone, you can get a lot of jobs because LinkedIn, the algorithm of LinkedIn worked in a way that it picks your topmost qualities and recommends jobs for you. So for that part of sex for job, it is the truth, it happens. Your fear, yes, it is the truth. All you have to do is you have to be a woman of principle. Somebody like me, I have my entire life, I've only known my wife. I wouldn't do that if you meet people like me or people like myself. You don't have any problem. In international competitions and top, almost all the banks I know, apart from the politically inclined banks, when I say politically inclined banks, banks that government has power in them or power and control over them, those banks, fine, can happen there. But these international banks, these things are not allowed there. It can happen, but they are not. I'm reading logistics at KNUST and I'd like to connect with you personally. May I get your contact? Yes. So my contact, yes, I will give you my email for now. And then for each of you, please, I will talk to Dr. Adabo, please, those who want the contacts, the phone number, that one I'll link with you and then we'll get back to them. So I'll type in my email address here for you. My email is pressduah@gmail.com. So I've sent my to everyone, sorry. Okay. So I've sent my email to all of you. So that's my email. So please, for my phone number, I would relate with the team and please I'll get back to you. The reason I'm not giving my phone number is I wouldn't want a situation you call me and I'm not picking. I have a very busy life. So I always want to, when it's email, at least I can reply when I am free. But for phone call, when you call, I have to reply at that moment. So that's why I prefer email. And if I give you my phone number, I'll advise that you first send me a WhatsApp message and I'll reply at my time and we'll book an appointment to talk on phone. I make time for students a lot. That one, I make a lot of time for students. So I'll make time, but please let me arrange with the organizers. So that's my email. For my phone, I'll arrange with the organizers. Okay, let me scroll up. I've answered the myth. Okay, the logistics, yes. So logistics too, if I've answered you, what do you do when you realize a company is not ready to invest in change, but as employee you wish to lament and invest in change? So there's a whole thing. This one is coming from Enoch. So Enoch, this is the whole thing. Sometimes in life, you have to do what you have to do in order to do what you want to do. There are some jobs that when you start, they are just stepping stones. So if you are at a place where you realize that they are not in tangent with your ideologies and your perceptions, especially you want to invest in, you want them to move and advance in technology and they are still not. What you can do is that you can be there and in a subtle way without anybody doing, apply for other jobs and move on to the next one. Because if you are not an intrapreneur, like I explained, if you are not in a position at the top management position where you can take major decisions which are entrepreneurial, Okasana said they are not listening. There's not much you can do. You might have to quietly work there and then you move on with your life. But if you are that topmost, then you can effect some of these changes. So one thing about workplace then is that you can also, okay, there's also this thing you could do. For example, myself, you can become of higher value to your institution to the extent that when you talk, they will listen. So for example, I won best in sales, best in blah, blah, won the best employee award. And then I started making suggestions to the MD. And that year they implemented it because I had become someone who has become valuable to the company. And then my suggestions were to improve upon performance. And they thought it works and they implemented it. And they acknowledged it before the start that this idea came from me. So if you have listening, people, they'll take it. But sometimes you can also become very good in your company to the extent that they can listen to you. Okay, so Joseph Quanton, which is the best document to present for identification in job and scholarship application? So for anything, when a scholarship, the best identification to present, are you talking about ID? If it is ID, then it is passport, especially because of scholarship. Then if you have a passport, because it's international, but locally, then sorry, let me mute the person. Sorry. Okay, so I've muted everybody. So for ID cards for Ghana, apart from health insurance, and you can use your driver's license, your voter's ID card, your passport, your SNET card. These four are acceptable in Ghana. What will you do as an employee when hiring and nurturing more entrepreneurial talents depends on political and media imperatives? Let me read this question again. What will you do as an employee when hiring and nurturing more entrepreneurial talents depends on political and media imperatives? Ido, can you come again with your question? If you can quickly explain down, I'll be very happy. If you can quickly explain down, I'll be very happy. Okay, so passport, so for these ones, passport, ID card, any of them is good. Doc, are there other? Okay. Okay, so I think I'm done for now. I'm done with the question. I'm applying for a scholar. Can you please check my cover letter for me? Yes. James Menu, yes, I can check your cover letter for you via mail. Please, what are career opportunities associated with reading of logistics and supply chain? Wow. So logistics and supply chain is a hot cake, yeah? It's a hot cake course now. It's a huge hot cake course now. There is even a whole USAID funding now at KNUST Business School for logistics because they are seeking to get more people into logistics and supply chain. So currently, logistics and supply chain is something that, in terms of jobs, they are endless. So for now, you can move into procurement. Okay, you can move into procurement. You can move into so you can work at the ports, Ghana Ports and Harbour. You can work for any company that does procurement. It can be done there. Anything that has to do with transport, that has to do with you. Where can't you work? Because it's actually a key component of almost every main company now. It's almost a key component in every company around the world now. Almost all the big companies, because banks, we have a logistics department, corporates. So there's a whole department that is there that you can easily, so you can move into manufacturing, even data analysis. You can do data analysis, you can do procurement, you can do transportation, customer service. Because the thing about logistics and supply chain is that it gives you a value chain spectrum analysis of events. When I say value chain, it means it lets you know from the manufacturing or from the manufacturer all the way to the consumer. So there are a lot of value chain fits you can have for that role. So currently, there is a shortage of logistics and supply chain in Africa. The US, knowing with COVID and all that and the importance of logistics and supply chain, are investing in Africa. Currently, as I'm talking to you, I was there at KNUST Business School where KNUST Business School where they have gotten funding for logistics and supply chain for masters and PhD. So it is something that the careers are it's a good course for now. That's what I can say. Please, what are career associated with reading? Okay, I've answered that. We'll take the last two, then we go. Time is on our side. How can you authenticate job? Aha, that is a good question. Ruth, you've asked a very fantastic question. How can you authenticate job advertisements on social media platforms such as Facebook in this era of many scams and fraudulent activities? So this is what you need to know. In Ghana here, because job advertisements are done by three groups of people. The company, the mother company that is doing the recruitment, they can advertise on their website or something. Then there is what we call the recruitment agencies. So some institutions prefer that they get these people called talent hunters to go into getting these talents for them. And then there is a word of mouth. Sometimes there are some roles. For example, I remember at a certain point we needed an arrow. Our HR told us to find someone. So in that case, we are not advertising it. It's a word of mouth. So we need someone who will be an RM for this institution. Can you find us someone? Do you know someone? Do you know any guy who's really good? This is the profile we are looking for. Then we recommend the CV, the person is picked. So first and foremost, for you to authenticate it, if it is a major company, 90% of these people advertise it on their website. Or you can just do search on Google, Facebook, and all that. One of their handles will advertise it. If it is an agency, there are certain agencies in Ghana. Unfortunately, I can't list all the agencies, but anything coming from Zomelo is a good one, because now it's almost like Zomelo, which is the main private agency, recruitment agency. Then there are these outsourced companies. For them to, you can easily check, because I've had two people go all the way to Accra. They went for an interview, not knowing the guys were scam. When they finished, the guys took money and the phone and they just went out. Now, what some agencies are also doing, which some of you should be careful, is that when they find you a job, they take a percentage of your salary for a whole year. Those ones are also scams and thieves. I don't know why they do that, because if a company hires you, outsource you to recruit, they pay you. So the one getting the job, you shouldn't really disturb the person that much. So for these agencies, one way you can authenticate, which I'll tell you, is that if jobs are coming from, go to trusted websites. These things you see on WhatsApp, you'll be there on a church page or class page, they are forwarding jobs and stuff. Please confirm with some reliable people. So for example, let me give an example. Recently, somebody sent me that there was a job recruitment with GT Bank that put it on our platform. All that I did was that I just sent it to a friend at GT. Can you confirm that this is true? And said, yes, this is true. Actually, he doesn't know how this went out. It was supposed to have been a word of mouth for the team to find. So it's true. Then there was another one we checked and it was a scam. So all you have to do is, you can't be so sure, but deal with reliable outlets. That's the first advice I give you. Deal with reliable outlets. Deal with places like LinkedIn, deal with places like Jobberman and those places, but be careful with just trusting, and don't be sending your CVs out there like that. Somebody like me, I don't send my CV out easy at all. At all. I have to be very sure before. So how you can authenticate it, for now, depend on reliable sources. And then if you go to any website, look at that it's HTTPS, you know that it's a secured website. Confirm word of mouth with one or two people before you apply, so that you don't put yourself in any. Don't look at how juicy they are presenting it. Last two questions, and we'll just go. Please, what are associated with reading statistics? Oh, statistics. It depends on the statistics. Is actually a foundational program, so you can work in so many places. So I would recommend that when you read statistics, what actually helps you is that anybody who reads statistics is somebody who ends up being good with research. You can work with consulting firms, so you can work with KPMG, the big four audit firms. You can work with research companies. You can work even with data mining. The only problem is statistics in itself is not a standalone normally. So if you have the chance to get a job and do a top up in some data mining, something else, it would help. Or if you want to go into full research, but for statistics, you can work in any bank. Actually, if you do statistics, any bank will pick you. If you work in any telco, can also pick you. Because the reason is that those who do statistics, we assume that you have a very high level of your critical analysis is quite high in a way. So that you are open, but it is a program which is not, it's a foundational program on its own because it's supposed to add something or specialize in another thing. Time up, time up, time up, time up. Let me read the last three altogether and I answer. Please, I know before, okay, please, when you're stuck pleasing a customer or your boss, who is it more appropriate to search for, assuming both are right? Example, your boss asks you to work on some documents and a patient also comes in for your service. Okay, so this is the whole thing you should know. Your boss and your patient, your boss comes first, but the patient is the priority. So for example, if you are in the office now and your patient has to be attended to and your boss is calling, you have to quickly go to your boss. The reason why your boss is more important is that we assume he's of higher expertise or higher experience than you. For all you know, the work you are doing would help with the patient you are handling or something. So you have to prioritize your boss first, and then I'm trying to mute everybody. So you have to prioritize your boss first, but you have to focus on satisfying your customers. I'm muting the person, but the person is still talking. Can you please mute it for everybody? Thank you. Please, I know before one's work, please, I know before one's get work, most of the time, some swear are not to work in accordance with rules and all that. So if it's not appropriate to expose the reality of to the company's sets and the clients as well, when the company is good to pay, don't you think it's not? I'm being truthful to the customers as well. Okay, Brobe Michael, is it about the profitability? Please, I know one's work most of the time swear reason. So if it's not appropriate to expose the reality of the law to the company's heads and the clients. Oh no, that's not what I meant. When I mentioned the information and then information sharing, what I mean, for example, in business, a company may be struggling now, but by the end of the year, they'll be doing well. But if you let your customers know they are struggling now, their confidence in the company will go down. Their commitment to the company to help them do well will also go down. That is what I'm trying to say, that there are some insider information you don't give. Actually, insider information is a criminal offense in the US. It's a criminal offense in some places because some information, some information that are meant to be in. So what I mean is that an information which is not yet public, you don't make it public. That is what I mean. So it has nothing to do with hiding things from your bosses or your customers. That's not what I mean. I mean, you don't have to tell them what they don't have to know. So, for example, your bank, your institution intends setting up a new branch at Edum, and then this is an internal information. It's between the logistics team that are working on it, and then you, out of I don't know, joy or say exuberance or whatever, you go out and you say it. Then your competitor hears that information and quickly sets up even before your logistics team are ready to set up. And then you lose that opportunity. So that's what I'm just trying to say, that some information until they are ready to be public, you shouldn't share that. What will you do as an employee when hiring an HR more? Okay. That's a okay, Enoch. So you've explained it. What will you do when our politicians and media and the system reward results and innovation? In this, employees being employed or being recruited by the media can bring up who can't help to be. That is when they do not advance to different parts and take different kinds of text to board in their knowledge and skills. Okay, so this one happens with our public sector where there is so much going on and they see that promotions are politically biased and all that. Unfortunately, in our public sector, there is little you can do apart from you doing your work and hoping that you can climb up the ladder. And that's how come sometimes if you think you're not helping, you move on to a private or you move on to a public sector that is not under any chronism or nepotism or favoritism from other people. So my advice on this is for me, this is what I say to people. There are some things you can change, there are some things you cannot change. For example, if you have no control over it and people are just so you can see somebody comes in because he's MPP or NDC or CPP, somebody has pushed him even above you and you are there. And unfortunately, you have to build yourself, build your skills. And I tell you, there are so many jobs and so many places that you'll be able to work. So for that one, there is not much we can do in the public sector, though we are asking for change. What we can do in that change is when we become the bosses, we would insist on that change. But until you are the boss, you wouldn't be able to do much.
All right, Doc. I think there are more questions,
Okay.
but time would not allow us. So we
Yes,
will have
please.
to end here. So in 1 minute, briefly your last words.
Uh, my last words actually is that you all the young people here, you should do everything possible to stand out. We are in a world where everybody mediocrity is the new normal. We are in a world where being normal, being like everybody is it. You have to stand out, but the standing out doesn't mean you should be against everything everybody is doing. That's not what I mean. You should have excellence in you. You should be an excellent person. Aim high, dream big. There's this young guy I mentored who just called me yesterday. He's gotten Harvard, and I'm linking him up to get a full scholarship. Just, just aim high. The guy was just dreaming for masters in public health at Harvard. And this year, for most of you who are not aware, who might even want to apply, they are not taking any IELTS and all those what do you call GRE and GMAT because of COVID. So sometimes your statement of purpose is good enough and your CV is good enough and you apply, you get it. So dream big, aim high, keep pushing, and the world is just, I mean, the sky's even on the limit. You can do so well. Thank you all.
Thank you very much, Dr. Duah, for that awesome presentation. Often when I moderate,
And
I try
and
to.
Dr. Adabo, just to chip in, I apologize that you couldn't see my face. I've explained it to the team already. I'm not physically well, so we nearly canceled the program, but we had to do everything. So I'm not very well. That's how come you're not seeing me. Thank you.
That's no problem. I think we've seen your picture, and I think that is very fine. We appreciate you very well for this evening, even with the inconveniences. You still managed to be here, and you did an awesome delivery. Like I was saying, anytime I moderate, I try to summarize some of the top or the captions that come out of the delivery. But this time I'm unable because there's so much for me to or do you call lay emphasis on. And so I want to say God bless you and God bless everyone who made it here this evening. Next week we are meeting. And so next week we are handling CV writing. Along the way, Doc made mention of CV, and we are going to focus on that next week, God willing, where Dr. Labi will be taking us. And then the third week, Dr. Labi also take us through email writing, and then cover letter writing. And then the final week, you are going to have Dr. Duah with us again to look at how we can kill our interviews if we are called. Thank you very much for being here. I believe you learned something. Let's go out there, practice, and as Doc said, let's turn out. Have a very good evening. Bye-bye.